7 companies listed in cabinet kickback probe. To get yourself a copy of the Standard and see what that is all about. There's also another story on page 9. Banks lethargy aided Dusit D2 attack. This is according to Haji. And this becomes a major worry, specifically because it looks like money has really become a currency that corrupts us in whatever area, now including banks. I remember a time when banks were a place that you'd never, ever expect, anything to be compromised. But it looks like they also did not do their job, if this article is anything to go by. And as a result, 30 million was withdrawn and may have been used to fund the Dusit D2 attack. And of course, we refer to this because it's the most recent. We remember it very well. So, Honorable Wario, your thoughts on possibly how we deal with this, because it's not now just the political arena. Even banks have been invaded by some lethargy.
Yeah, exactly. We need to streamline our banking sector, but also it is a right for a person to withdraw the money, whichever amount he wants. But also, the banks need to bank with our intelligence network or our government so that we get to know who is withdrawing the money, at what time, which branch, so that we get to know what the purpose is withdrawing the money. Is it a business? Maybe he has a big business. Now, it is not good to criminalize everybody, criminalize Kenyans. Now, if you go to the bank, you want to withdraw 1 million shillings, then bureaucracy.
And just yesterday, I think I saw an article that members of parliament were raising concerns over the fact that you have to fill very elaborate forms when you're withdrawing money. But now this answers why maybe the banks need that to be done.
Yeah, exactly, because sometimes the banks have the data. Because sometimes you get your salary, which maybe is 1 million shilling. You want to withdraw your salary, then you are being asked questions. So that is the issue the parliament is raising. Also, as parliament, we are the watchdog and we are oversight. We need to make laws which is good for the country and also sometimes takes action. If we see the inaction of a minister, let's say, we go ahead and impeach him if the president is not taking any action. So I think it's good for the bank to work with the government, the intelligence especially. We know who is withdrawing, at what time, for what purpose.
All right. Honorable Nyoro, do you have concerns over the regulations and laws that the bank has, especially in money transfers?
Not at all, not at all. If you are genuinely
transacting,
if you have sold your property and you put in the money and you want to withdraw to go buy a car, why wouldn't you tell the bank that I sold my house and I want to go buy a car? The people, unfortunately, who are members of parliament who are bringing up these issues, we know why. That is where the whole issue about huge transactions come in. And we know huge transactions come in because we are now operating a cash economy. I know very well that there are now indications that people are not banking, and therefore a lot of money is being kept under the mattress and whatever. But very soon, I'm hoping the president will do what the Indian government did. After producing the new currency, you gave people 3 months and said, come and change your currency, otherwise it becomes invalid. I am not concerned at all about indicating where the money has come from and where the money is going. On the question you are raising about DTB and fight of terrorism, if you remember very well, after 9/11 in the US, what they did was they did not just sort out the border security. They introduced what is called TSS, which is the people you meet at whenever you are entering into the country. But they also interconnected different institutions. I think if you follow from Dusit, the information we have gotten, we know that arms were moved from Ramu through Mombasa through Nairobi.
Correct.
Were there people who did not know that? We know that some people are staying in Mushada, in Kiambu. Were there people who did not know that? We are now being told about money. We are being told about M-Pesa. I think what we need as a country, and this is what has happened, that's why if you go to the UK, there is no longer so much fear of terrorism. It's because the country has worked, all the systems has come together. And that's what we need to do. Today is banks. Tomorrow we'll hear about something else. I don't think we are very, very serious, and we have not seen the full implications of the terrorism that we are fighting in Kenya.
All right, Honorable Baraza, your thoughts on that and how we can amalgamate all the institutions that we have to ensure that we are a secure country. I keep saying that, for example, if you went to a mall today, it has become normalized that you will be frisked, you will be checked. We think as Kenyans it is normal. It is not normal. You go to other countries and you find you walk into a mall free. They come here and they wonder what is going on. But what that tells me is that we are checking the wrong part. Because if you're checking me as a terrorist at the point where I'm getting into the mall, that's a little bit too late.
Yeah, I agree. And I think before I come to answer your question, I just want to shed light that what Parliament is doing now as regard to the central bank regulations, that these regulations are illegal. We only have one institution in this country that ratifies or makes laws, which is Parliament. So what we are saying as National Assembly is that, yes, Central Bank has gone ahead to implement these regulations. I mean, we gave them a note to do so. So we are saying that regulations and laws in this country are within the purview of Parliament. No institution, including the presidency, has the powers to legislate and make laws by themselves. So that's why we are saying that the central bank governor must appear before Parliament, so that now we can look into these regulations and try to streamline them. When it comes to the Diamond Trust Bank being mentioned in the Dusit attack, it's very unfortunate. And I think as a country where democracies has matured, we ought to have even in the meantime, government ought to have disengaged its doing business with Diamond Trust Bank until it's cleared. For example, today, this Huduma Center cashless systems, the bank that is at the center of Huduma Center cashless systems is Diamond Trust Bank. We have a matter before before Parliament, a matter that as members of Parliament we feel public money has been lost through this mobile money transfer applications that are being done by Diamond Trust Bank. And I think it is a high time that the government gets serious in terms of when this particular institution has been mentioned in graft or in aiding terrorism, such kind of institution should be blocked from government systems so that until it's cleared. Yeah.
All right, and your comments on the terrorism question and whether we are checking at the wrong point.
We are not doing anything as a country. The police are trained properly in terms of detecting terrorism. But you understand that most buildings in this country, most Kenyans are in the hands of the private security firms. When you go to the mall, the person who checks you is a private security mall. And it's important that government comes up with a system that National Police Service, the security agencies, should take over vetting and approving anybody to be employed as a security guard in this country, that they have a database. So that today, tomorrow, if G4S wants to employ 20 security guards, they will go into a database that the national security agencies will have approved and posted. If we leave them, today if I serve in the military or in the Kenya National Police Service and tomorrow I am interdicted for one reason or the other and I go home for 1 month, I will find myself back into the security system as a security guard, which is not a good thing to do. So we must the security agencies of this country must take over every aspect of security in this country.
All right, and well, that's matter security, but let's now take a look at the nation before we wind up. And the headline is, you paid 21 billion for empty thicket. The AG told Kerio Valley Development Authority, don't dare, but they went ahead and took a foreign bank loan of 61 billion Kenyan shillings and paid 21 billion for a dam that has not been designed, and even the bush has not been cleared yet. Let me start with you, Your Excellency Nyoro. Again, 21 billion. The information and the news that we get on a daily basis for Kenyans is very disheartening. We are living in a very tough economy, yet we have so much plunder, if these stories are anything to go by.
You know, Michael, if you look at the stories we've been getting over the last 20 days or so, There are all these kind of stories, and I would expect that next week, tomorrow, they will probably be talking about something else. Like they say, if you find yourself in a hole, what you do is you don't continue digging deeper. You stop digging and start to think about coming out of the hole. I think this country, and we have been emphasizing so much, and we talked about prosecutions, and we talked about the good job that the DCI and DPP are doing, but as they do that, somebody else is digging deeper. I can tell you, as we are talking today, there are people who are making a deal of another 21 billion shillings. So they are digging deeper. I think as a country, we have to stop and say we are not going to dig deeper. We have to start coming out of this. And that will come in through goodwill from Parliament, from the President. I think, really, this has become like a national disaster. And if we have to declare corruption a national disaster, after that, then once we declare a national disaster, everybody, like the people who bought the ticket, should be put in, because under the regulation of national disaster, you put in people without too much questions, and then maybe
deal with the questions later.
Exactly. But the kind of information that we are getting and this kind of suffering that people are going through today is such that we really have to stop digging deeper.
All right. Honorable Warrior, do you agree that it's a national disaster and need to be dealt with differently? Because I was thinking and reading an article the other day that was saying that Kenyans were too diplomatic about corruption. We want to go it through a very diplomatic way, yet it is literally leaving us worse than we ever started off.
I think it is a national disaster, I agree. Also, as the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi said, we go from handshake to handcuffs. Because if we see people stealing public money, honestly, they need to go to jail. Because, and I want the President to make this work of fighting corruption a coordinated thing. We have EACC, we have DPP, we have DCI, all of them going differently. I think we need to have a coordinated war against corruption. Corruption has become a national disaster. In fact, it is becoming an international disaster, because now people are going to donor funds, taking 21 billion shillings. Kerio Valley Development Authority, which falls, initially it falls under Ministry of Devolution, now under Ministry of, I think, East African Development. So we need to go international, and we want the President to make a coordinated thing, this fight against corruption. Okay.
Honorable Barasa, your thoughts on whether we need to change tact? We are very diplomatic. We go to courts. The courts release on bond because everybody now is, allowed to be released on bond. Maybe we need a more radical approach.
I think the impediment to the fight against corrupt is political connections and the players that were involved in this corruption. We begin investigations very well, but if an investigation leads to a particular person, the person who is well-connected, either a well-connected political wheeler dealer, or even the person, a senior member of the society, then the matter dies. It's not the first time that Kenyans are spending 21 billion on something that doesn't exist. Sometimes a few years ago. This is a matter that is in public domain. A company contracted by the Ministry of Health to supply containers to be used as mobile clinics. A container that costs 250,000 shillings was sold at 20 million shillings. The whole ministry spent a whooping 5 billion. The same containers are in Mombasa somewhere. That matter disappeared. It never moved. Remember the matters of sugar. It was clear who brought in sugar, but as investigations leads to a particular office, the investigations all stalls. So what we need to do as a country is to look back for the last 10 years, take stock of the mega graft that has happened, and they do an audit of what happened. Where did the rain start beating us in terms of investigations? Today, I want to tell you on this national TV that the purported takeover of JKIA by Kenya Airways is bigger than all scandals put together. Because if you look at who owns Kenya Airways, I mean, Kenya Airways is a bankrupt institution. Is supposed to be taken over by some 2 banks because they have given the Kenya Airways billions of shillings. So if you want to, an ailing firm to take over a financial stable government entity, it should be the other way around. It should be Kenya Airways, Kenya Airport Authority taking over Kenya Airways.
All right.
So that is the problem that affects
the political connections.
Political connections.
Well, you're a legislator, and we're looking up to you people, and you've brought in even the sugar aspect. And remember, the sugar question also went somehow unmentioned or died out somewhere in Parliament when there was accusations of some members of Parliament receiving as little as 10,000 shillings. So it looks like this cancer literally has not left any institution untouched. So we'll have to take a break right now from the newspaper review, but do stay with us. When we come back, we want to talk about the politics of food security. One of the big 4 agendas for the Jubilee government is to ensure that Kenya is food secure. But is that going to be a piped dream? Is it a possibility? What are some of the things that are possible impediments so far with fertilizer prices at an all-time high? We also know that the Galana Kulalu project is on its knees with prospects of it actually shutting down. 5.2 billion shillings later. Are we talking food security, or is